The cafeteria lady stopped serving and announced, "I found poison in someone's lunch." Mrs. Delgado's voice cut through the noise like a knife. The entire cafeteria went silent in an instant. She was standing behind the serving counter with her serving spoon still in her hand, her face pale and her eyes wide with something between terror and rage. She held up a lunch tray, a plastic tray with chicken tenders, green beans, and mashed potatoes, standard Thursday fare at Lincoln High. Her hand was shaking so badly the tray rattled. I was 3 people back in line, holding my own empty tray, and I watched as everyone around me froze. The kid in front of me, Derek Derek Williams, stopped mid-reach for his fork. The girl beside him dropped her milk carton. It hit the floor and exploded, white liquid spreading across the tile, but nobody moved to clean it up. Mrs. Delgado had been working in our cafeteria for 15 years. She'd served lunch to students who were now in college, who were now parents themselves. She was the kind of woman who remembered your name, who gave you extra fries if you looked sad, who asked about your sick grandmother. She didn't panic. She didn't raise her voice. But right now she looked absolutely terrified. Principal Vaughn appeared from nowhere, moving faster than I'd ever seen him move. He was a big man, 6'3" with a slight limp from a college football injury, and he usually walked slowly, deliberately, like he had all the time in the world. Not now. He was at the counter in seconds, his face serious, his voice low. Everyone stepped back from the line. Now. Students obeyed immediately. The lunch line scattered, kids backing up toward the tables, clutching their trays, confused and scared. I backed up too, my empty tray still in my hands, my heart starting to pound. Mrs. Delgado set the suspect tray down on the counter carefully, like it might explode. I was serving Liam Thompson, she said, her voice shaking. I scooped the mashed potatoes and I saw something in them. White powder mixed in, not blended smooth, just sitting there on top, partially stirred in. I've been cooking for 30 years. I know what potatoes look like. This wasn't seasoning. This was something else. Principal Vaughn leaned over the counter, examining the tray without touching it. His jaw tightened. Where's Liam? Liam was still standing at the front of the line, his face red, his fists clenched. He was a junior, tall and thin with shaggy brown hair and a reputation for being quiet, almost invisible. I had English class with him. He sat in the back, never spoke unless called on, ate lunch alone most days. Now everyone was looking at him. Principal Vaughn's eyes fixed on Liam. Is this your lunch? Liam nodded slowly. His voice came out barely above a whisper. Yeah, I brought it from home. My mom packed it this morning. Mrs. Delgado shook her head. This tray came through my line. I served these potatoes myself. They came from the kitchen, not from a packed lunch. Liam's face went from red to white. No, I swear, I brought my lunch. I didn't get food from the line. But his hands were empty. No lunch bag, no container, nothing. Principal Vaughn's voice got harder. Liam, I need you to come with me right now. Don't touch anything. Don't say anything. Just come with me to my office. Liam looked around desperately like he was searching for an escape route. Then he bolted. He didn't get far. Coach Rivers was standing near the exit, probably on his way to grab lunch between classes, and he stepped in front of Liam without thinking. Liam tried to dodge around him, but Coach Rivers was a former linebacker, and he caught Liam's arm easily. Not rough, just firm. Easy, son. Nobody's going anywhere until we figure this out. Liam struggled for a second, then went limp. He started crying, huge gasping sobs that echoed through the silent cafeteria. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. Somebody's setting me up. Principal Vaughn was already on his radio, calling for the school resource officer, calling for the nurse, calling for anyone who could help contain this situation. Officer Ramos arrived within a minute, hand on his belt where his radio and pepper spray were clipped. He looked at the tray, looked at Liam, looked at Principal Vaughn. We need to evacuate this cafeteria immediately. If there's poison in one lunch, there could be poison in others. We can't risk mass exposure. My stomach dropped. Mass exposure. The cafeteria held about 300 students right now. All of us eating lunch. All of us potentially exposed to whatever was on that tray. Principal Vaughn made the call. His voice came over the PA system, calm but firm. Attention all students currently in the cafeteria. This is not a drill. Stop eating immediately. Put down your food. Do not take another bite. Leave your trays where they are and exit the cafeteria in an orderly fashion through the main doors. Teachers, please escort your students to the gymnasium and take attendance. Medical personnel are being contacted as a precaution. The cafeteria erupted, not into panic, not yet, but into a wave of movement and noise. Students stood up, leaving half-eaten lunches on tables. Some kids looked scared. Others looked annoyed, like this was just another inconvenient drill. My best friend Zoe grabbed my arm. What the hell is happening? I shook my head. I don't know, but Mrs. Delgado doesn't freak out over nothing. If she says there's poison, there's poison. We filed out with everyone else, 300 teenagers moving through the double doors in a confused mass. Teachers were trying to maintain order, but nobody really knew what was happening or what they were supposed to do. In the gymnasium, we sat on the bleachers while teachers took attendance. My heart was still racing. I kept thinking about all the times I'd eaten cafeteria food this year, all the times Mrs. Delgado had served me with a smile, all the times I'd trusted that my food was safe, And now someone had poisoned a lunch tray, or tried to poison someone specifically, or maybe it was an accident. But Mrs. Delgado had said the powder was mixed in, not blended smooth, which meant it was deliberate. Someone had put something in Liam Thompson's food, or Liam had put something in his own food. But why would anyone poison their own lunch? Unless they were planning to poison someone else and got caught before they could switch trays. My mind was racing through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Zoe leaned close. Do you think someone was trying to kill Liam? Or do you think Liam was trying to kill someone else? I didn't have an answer. Around us, other students were whispering the same questions, coming up with increasingly wild theories. Paramedics arrived 20 minutes later. 3 ambulances pulled up outside the school, and EMTs came into the gym with clipboards and medical bags. They started asking questions. Did anyone feel sick? Nauseous? Dizzy? Difficulty breathing? Chest pain? Most students said no. A few said yes, but that was probably anxiety or fear, not actual poisoning. The EMTs took vital signs anyway, checking blood pressure and heart rate, writing down names of anyone who reported symptoms. They set up a triage area in the corner of the gym, and about 15 students were separated out for closer monitoring. Liam was taken to the hospital immediately, in handcuffs, with Officer Ramos riding in the ambulance. I watched through the gym windows as they loaded him in. He was still crying, still saying he didn't do anything, still insisting someone was setting him up. The tray with the poisoned food was sealed in an evidence bag and taken away by 2 police officers I didn't recognize. They were wearing gloves, treating it like a crime scene, because it was a crime scene. Someone had attempted murder in our school cafeteria. The police arrived in force after that. Not just Officer Ramos, but detectives, crime scene investigators, people in suits with badges clipped to their belts. They set up a command center in the library, and students were called in one by one to give statements. I was called in after about an hour. My hands were sweating as I walked down the empty hallway with a police escort. A young officer who didn't say anything, just walked beside me with his hand resting on his belt. The library had been transformed. Tables pushed together, laptops set up, 2 detectives sitting with notepads and recording devices. The detective who interviewed me introduced herself as Detective Morgan Hayes. She was in her 40s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that didn't miss anything. She asked me to sit, offered me water, and then got straight to business. Tell me what you saw in the cafeteria. Start from when you got in line. I told her everything. How I'd been 3 people back, how Mrs. Delgado had held up the tray, how Liam had claimed it wasn't his lunch, how he'd run, how everyone had evacuated. Detective Hayes wrote everything down, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Did you see Liam with a packed lunch earlier today? I thought back. I don't know. I didn't really notice him this morning. We have English together first period, but I don't remember seeing him with a lunch bag. She nodded. What can you tell me about Liam Thompson? What kind of student is he? Does he have friends? Enemies? Any conflicts with other students? I tried to think of anything useful. He's quiet. Really quiet. I don't think I've ever heard him speak voluntarily in class. He eats lunch alone most days. I don't know if he has enemies. He's kind of invisible, you know? The kind of kid who doesn't draw attention. Detective Hayes leaned forward slightly. Has he been bullied? Have you witnessed any incidents where someone targeted him? That made me pause. Had I seen Liam being bullied? I tried to remember. I don't know. Maybe. There are kids who get picked on at this school, but I don't specifically remember Liam being one of them. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I might just not have noticed. Detective Hayes asked a few more questions, then thanked me and sent me back to the gym. Other students were being called in, one after another. The interviews went on for hours. By the time school normally would have ended, we were still sitting in the gym, waiting for permission to leave. Parents started showing up, demanding to take their kids home, demanding answers about what had happened, whether their children were safe. Principal Vaughn held an emergency meeting in the gymnasium, standing on the floor with a microphone while 300 students and about 50 parents listened. At approximately 11:30 this morning, our cafeteria manager, Mrs. Delgado, discovered what appeared to be a foreign substance in a lunch tray. Out of an abundance of caution, the cafeteria was evacuated and emergency services were called. The substance has been taken to a lab for analysis. Results should be available within 24 to 48 hours. No students have shown symptoms of poisoning at this time. The cafeteria will remain closed until the investigation is complete. Tomorrow, school will be in session, but lunch will be provided by an outside catering service. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact the main office. The gymnasium erupted with noise. Parents shouting questions. Students talking over each other. Principal Vaughn tried to restore order but eventually gave up and just dismissed us. We were allowed to collect our belongings from our lockers and leave. Zoe and I walked to her car together, both of us still processing what had happened. Do you think Liam really did it? She asked as we got in. Do you think he was trying to poison someone? I buckled my seatbelt, my hand still shaking slightly. I don't know. He seemed genuinely scared. But people lie. People fake emotions all the time. Zoe pulled out of the parking lot. If he was trying to poison someone, who was the target? And why did he go through the lunch line if he was planning something? That doesn't make sense. She was right. It didn't make sense. If Liam had poisoned his own food intending to give it to someone else, why would he go through the lunch line where Mrs. Delgado would serve him? Unless he wasn't the one who poisoned it. Unless someone else had poisoned that specific tray knowing Liam would get it. But how would someone know which tray Liam would get? The lunch line was random. You got whatever tray Mrs. Delgado handed you. Unless someone had access to the kitchen. Unless someone had poisoned multiple trays hoping to hit Liam. Or hoping to hit someone else entirely, and Liam just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. My head hurt thinking about all the possibilities. That night, the story was all over the news. Local stations ran it as breaking news. Poison found in high school cafeteria. Teen arrested in attempted poisoning. Parents demand answers after toxic substance discovered in student lunch. They showed footage of the ambulances outside our school, interviewed parents who looked terrified, showed Liam's school photo, a standard yearbook picture where he looked young and scared and nothing like someone who would poison a lunch tray. The reporters didn't have many facts yet, so they filled airtime with speculation and interviews with experts who talked about school violence and warning signs, and the importance of reporting suspicious behavior. I watched it all from my couch, my mom sitting beside me, her hand gripping mine tightly. "I can't believe this happened at your school," she kept saying. "I can't believe someone brought poison into your school." I couldn't believe it either. I kept thinking about sitting in the cafeteria that morning, completely unaware that something terrible was about to happen, completely trusting that my food was safe, that my school was safe, that the adults in charge would protect us. The next morning, school felt different. There were police cars in the parking lot. Metal detectors had been set up at every entrance overnight. Students had to empty their pockets, take off their jackets, walk through the detectors one at a time. It took forever. The line to get into the building stretched across the parking lot. Some kids were complaining. Others looked scared. I just felt numb. Inside, the halls were quieter than usual. Teachers stood at their classroom doors watching students pass, their faces serious. The cafeteria was cordoned off with yellow police tape. Through the windows, I could see investigators still working inside, taking samples, photographing everything, treating the whole room like a crime scene. Lunch was served in the gymnasium, boxed lunches from a catering company, sandwiches and chips and fruit handed out by parent volunteers. Nobody wanted to eat. Most kids just picked at their food, eyeing it suspiciously, wondering if it was safe. I forced myself to eat half a sandwich, more because my mom had texted me 3 times asking if I'd eaten than because I was actually hungry. The rumors were out of control. Some kids said Liam had confessed. Others said he'd been released. Someone claimed the poison was rat poison. Someone else said it was drain cleaner. Another rumor said it wasn't poison at all, just a prank gone wrong. Nobody knew what was true. In English class, Liam's empty desk sat in the back corner like a ghost. Our teacher, Mr. Franklin, didn't mention it. He just started class like normal, reading announcements, going over homework. But everyone kept glancing at that empty desk, wondering where Liam was, what he was doing, whether he was sitting in a jail cell or a hospital or his parents' living room. Mr. Franklin finally addressed it halfway through class. "I know everyone has questions about yesterday's incident. I can't answer most of them because I don't know the details myself. What I can tell you is that the investigation is ongoing, and we should avoid spreading rumors or speculation. If any of you need to talk to a counselor, there are additional counselors available in the guidance office today. And remember, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Let's not rush to judgment about anyone involved." It was a nice speech, but it didn't help. We were all already judging, already deciding who was guilty and who was innocent based on nothing but gossip and fear. That afternoon, the lab results came back. Principal Vaughn called an emergency assembly. The entire school packed into the auditorium, sitting shoulder to shoulder, waiting to hear what had been found in Liam's lunch tray. Principal Vaughn stood at the podium, his face grim. "The substance found in the lunch tray yesterday has been identified. It was acetaminophen, commonly known as Tylenol, crushed into a powder. A large quantity, approximately 20 tablets worth, mixed into the mashed potatoes. While acetaminophen is not immediately lethal, that dosage could cause serious liver damage if consumed, particularly in someone who took it on an empty stomach or who had underlying health conditions. The police are treating this as attempted poisoning and the investigation is ongoing." The auditorium was silent. Acetaminophen, not rat poison, not drain cleaner, just over-the-counter pain medication. But 20 tablets worth was enough to hospitalize someone, maybe even kill them if they didn't get treatment fast enough. Principal Vaughn continued. "Liam Thompson has been released from custody. The evidence suggests he was the intended victim, not the perpetrator. Someone poisoned his lunch. We don't yet know who or why. If anyone has information about this incident, please come forward immediately. You can speak to any teacher, any administrator, or Officer Ramos. Anonymous tips can be submitted through the school's tip line. Your safety is our top priority." The assembly ended and students filed out, whispering furiously. Liam was the victim. Someone had tried to poison him. But who? And why? Liam didn't come back to school for the rest of the week. His parents had pulled him out, citing safety concerns, which made sense. If someone had tried to poison him once, they might try again. The police interviewed dozens of students, trying to find anyone who had a grudge against Liam, anyone who might want to hurt him. But everyone said the same thing. Liam was quiet. He kept to himself. He didn't have enemies because he didn't interact with people enough to make enemies. He was invisible. So why would someone try to poison an invisible kid? Detective Hayes came back to school on Friday and pulled me out of class again. This time, the interview was different. She wasn't asking about what I'd seen in the cafeteria. She was asking about something else entirely. I need to ask you about a group of students, she said, pulling out a list of names. Do you know Oliver Grant, Sophie Reynolds, and Nadia Patel? I nodded slowly. I knew all three of them. Oliver was in my math class, a smart kid who always finished tests first and helped other students with homework. Sophie was in my history class, cheerful and popular, always organizing fundraisers and school events. Nadia was in my chemistry class, quiet but brilliant, heading to MIT next year on a full scholarship. Yeah, I know them. Why? Detective Hayes leaned forward. All three of them have access to the school's kitchen. Oliver works in the cafeteria part-time through the school's work-study program. Sophie volunteers in the kitchen on Thursdays as part of her community service hours for National Honor Society. Nadia has a medical condition that requires her to refrigerate her medication, and she's been given permission to use the kitchen's refrigerator. All three were in or near the kitchen yesterday morning before lunch service started. My stomach sank. One of them had poisoned Liam's lunch, or all of them together. Why would they want to hurt Liam? I asked. Detective Hayes didn't answer directly. That's what we're trying to figure out. Do you know if any of them had conflicts with Liam? Any history, any incidents, anything that might explain why they'd target him? I tried to think. Had I ever seen Oliver, Sophie, or Nadia interact with Liam? Had there been any confrontations? Any arguments? Any reason for them to hate him enough to poison him? Nothing came to mind. They existed in completely different social circles. Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia were high achievers, involved in clubs and sports and academic competitions. Liam was invisible, isolated, barely present. They shouldn't have even known each other, unless there was something I didn't know about, something hidden beneath the surface of normal school social dynamics. Detective Hayes showed me printouts of text messages. We obtained warrants for the phones of several students. These messages were exchanged in a group chat between Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia 2 weeks ago. I read the messages, my hands starting to shake. Oliver, we need to do something about Liam. This can't continue. Sophie, I agree, but we have to be careful. If anyone finds out, we're screwed. Nadia, I have an idea. It's risky, but it would solve the problem permanently. Oliver, how permanent are we talking? Nadia, permanent enough that he can't hurt anyone ever again. The messages continued, discussing logistics, timing, access to the kitchen. They never explicitly said the word poison, but the implication was clear. They'd planned this. For weeks, they'd been planning to poison Liam Thompson. But why? What had he done to them? Detective Hayes pulled out another document, a police report from 3 months ago. Liam Thompson was questioned by police in November regarding a data breach at the school. Someone hacked into the student information system and leaked private information about multiple students. Medical records, disciplinary files, personal emails. The information was posted anonymously on social media. The leak destroyed reputations, exposed secrets, caused significant harm to several students. Liam was a suspect because he has advanced computer skills, but there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. I read through the report, my mind racing. The data breach. I remembered when it happened. It had been chaos. Students' private information spread across social media, screenshots passed around, secrets exposed. I hadn't been affected, but I knew people who had been. Kids whose therapy records were leaked. Kids whose disciplinary issues became public. Kids whose family problems were exposed for everyone to mock. It had been cruel and devastating. And Liam was suspected of being behind it. Detective Hayes continued. Oliver Grant's medical information was in that leak. He's been receiving treatment for depression and anxiety. That information got out, and he was bullied relentlessly for weeks. Sophie Reynolds had been suspended twice for cheating, something she'd kept hidden from college admissions. That information got leaked, and 3 universities rescinded their acceptance offers. Nadia Patel's parents' divorce proceedings, including allegations of abuse, were leaked. Her family's private trauma became public gossip. I felt sick. These 3 students had been destroyed by that data breach. Their lives had been torn apart by whoever posted that information, and they believed Liam was responsible, so they had decided to poison him. Not to kill him necessarily, but to hurt him, to make him suffer the way they'd suffered. Detective Hayes closed the file. We arrested all 3 of them this morning. They're being charged as adults with attempted murder and conspiracy. Their lawyers are arguing that it was meant to be a prank, that they didn't understand how dangerous acetaminophen could be in high doses, but the text messages show clear intent to cause serious harm. I sat there trying to process it. Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia weren't monsters. They were good students, good kids, people I would have called friends. But they'd been hurt so badly by that data breach that they'd become capable of attempted murder. Did Liam actually do it? I asked. Did he leak the information? Detective Hayes sighed. We don't know. The investigation into the data breach is still open. Liam has never admitted to it. There's circumstantial evidence pointing to him, but nothing definitive. He might have done it, or someone else might have done it and let Liam take the suspicion. Either way, Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia decided he was guilty and took matters into their own hands. She stood up. You're free to go. Thank you for your cooperation. If you remember anything else, please let us know. I walked back to class in a daze, barely seeing the hallway around me. Everything I thought I understood about my school, about my classmates, had been turned upside down. The story broke that evening. 3 honor students arrested in poisoning plot. The news showed photos of Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia, their faces blurred because they were minors, but everyone at school knew who they were. The reporters talked about the data breach, about the motive, about how 3 promising students with bright futures had thrown it all away for revenge. Social media exploded. Some people defended Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia, saying they'd been driven to it, that Liam had destroyed their lives first and they were just fighting back. Others condemned them, saying nothing justified attempted murder, that they should have gone to the police or told their parents or found some other way to handle their anger. The school board held an emergency meeting. Parents demanded answers. How had this happened? How had 3 students been able to access the kitchen and poison food without anyone noticing? Why hadn't the school done more to investigate the data breach? Why hadn't there been better security? Why hadn't someone seen the warning signs? Principal Vaughn was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into the school's handling of both incidents. Mrs. Delgado, the cafeteria manager who'd discovered the poison and potentially saved Liam's life, was praised as a hero, but she announced her retirement, saying she couldn't work in a place where students tried to kill each other. Liam came back to school 2 weeks later. He looked different, thinner, more haunted. He still sat in the back of English class, still ate lunch alone, but now everyone watched him. Some kids avoided him, afraid he might retaliate. Others tried to befriend him, guilty about suspecting him, about judging him, about not noticing when 3 of their classmates were planning to poison him. Liam ignored everyone. He did his work, turned in his assignments, and left as soon as the final bell rang. I tried to talk to him once, catching him in the hallway after class. "Hey, Liam, I just wanted to say I'm sorry about everything that happened. It must have been terrifying." He looked at me with empty eyes. "Everyone thinks I leaked that information. I didn't, but nobody believes me. They never did. So Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia tried to poison me for something I didn't do. And now I have to come back here every day and pretend everything's fine." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I hope you never know what it's like to be accused of something you didn't do and have nobody believe you. I hope you never know what it's like to realize people hate you enough to try to kill you." He walked away before I could respond. The trial for Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia was set for 6 months later. In the meantime, they were released on bail with electronic monitoring, forbidden from contacting each other or Liam, required to attend counseling. Their parents hired expensive lawyers who argued that their clients were good kids who'd made a terrible mistake under extreme emotional duress. The prosecution argued that planning a poisoning over several weeks showed premeditation and clear intent to cause serious harm. The school installed new security measures, cameras in the kitchen, locked access to food storage areas, background checks for all student workers, random inspections of meals. It was too late for Liam, too late for Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia, but maybe it would protect future students. Maybe it would prevent the next tragedy. The data breach investigation continued, but no one was ever charged. The digital trail had gone cold. Whoever had leaked that information had covered their tracks too well. Liam remained under suspicion, but without proof, he couldn't be charged. He graduated at the end of the year and disappeared. No one knew where he went or what he was doing. Some people said he'd moved out of state. Others said he'd changed his name. All I knew was that an invisible kid had become infamous for something he might not have done, and 3 honor students had destroyed their futures trying to get revenge. I think about that day in the cafeteria sometimes, about Mrs. Delgado's terrified face when she held up that tray, about how close Liam came to eating poisoned food, about how quickly everything fell apart. I think about Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia, about how pain and anger can turn good people into something they never thought they'd become. I think about Liam, alone and accused and nearly murdered for a crime no one could prove he committed. I think about how we all failed each other, how the adults failed to investigate properly, how the students failed to support each other, how the systems meant to protect us broke down at every level. Justice came, eventually. Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia were convicted and sentenced to juvenile detention followed by probation. Their college acceptances were gone. Their futures were changed forever, but it felt hollow. 3 lives ruined trying to ruin another life that might have already been ruined by false accusations. No winners, only survivors and scars and a cafeteria that stayed empty for months because no one felt safe eating there anymore. Mrs. Delgado saved a life that day when she noticed something wrong and spoke up. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if she hadn't noticed, if Liam had eaten that food, if Oliver, Sophie, and Nadia had succeeded. I'm grateful I'll never know. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.